Hi guys, I don't know if anyone is going to read this or if it's just going to get buried, but I wanted to share this with someone else. I feel like it's eating my brain alive and I'm not sure what to do. For some backstory, I live in a small town in New Jersey. Not a lot goes on around here. It's a super old place, like Pilgrim type old, with miles and miles of forest all around. I'm the assistant manager at a shitty 24-hour diner in the most urban part of town, which isn't really urban at all, but whatever. Basically, the general manager at the restaurant was a weird guy. He was quiet, and he kept to himself most of the time, only really talking to us or customers when it was absolutely necessary. Most of the time, he stayed in the office typing like crazy on his personal laptop, which I always found odd. We have a pretty new computer system that he could have easily used for paperwork. One time I asked him why he used his own computer, and he said that when he wasn't working on restaurant stuff, he was writing. I asked him what he liked to write about, and he just kind of shrugged and said, "My personal experiences, I guess." I didn't really know what that meant. A few weeks later, he started showing up to work late, looking really fucked up like he hadn't slept in days. He would get nosebleeds all the time, and he would flinch at the slightest noise, even when someone spoke to him at a completely normal volume. One time, I gently knocked on the office door because I had a question about a customer's refund, and I heard him yell out in surprise. Or fear, I guess. We were all collectively worried for him, and a couple of times one of us would try to ask him what was going on, but he always brushed it off or flat out ignored us. Eventually, it got around that his grandfather, who had apparently raised him, passed away recently. That pretty much explained it, or so we thought. We kind of just gave him some space and tried not to bother him. Then, one day, he didn't show up for work. The next day came, and the next, and still he didn't come in. Even if he was going to be 5 minutes late, he always let someone know. We called his phone, emailed him. Even called the sheriff to do a wellness check at his apartment, but he wasn't here. A few weeks later, the very same sheriff showed up at the restaurant and pulled me aside. They had found him out in the woods, about a quarter mile from the house he grew up in, floating face down in a deep pit of water that they guessed had once been the property's well. His throat had been brutally sliced open, from the collarbones to the jaw. The sheriff said it appeared to be a self-inflicted wound from some kind of hunting knife, or something else with a long curved blade. There was no weapon down in the well with him, nor in the nearby cabin. The only piece of evidence they'd found was a note in his coat pocket, sealed inside a Ziploc bag. The note read as follows.
My name is Ross McPherson, and I'm writing this because I think I'm going to die soon. I can hear it outside my window, and I can hear its claws on the glass. It's a horrible sound, like nails on a chalkboard. I wish someone was coming to help me, but I think I'm the only one who can see it. I have no idea how much time I have left, but if this can help anyone, even one person from ending up in the situation I'm in, it'll be worth it, and I can move into the next life knowing that maybe someone can be spared. When the police come to get me and inevitably find this note, please know that no human being did this to me. I've seen a horror beyond comprehension in those woods, and I wish that I was murdered by a burglar or a hitman, or anything else besides what actually got me. I don't have any family members, and I don't care what happens to my belongings, but please bury what's left of me in the Lakecrest Cemetery, either next to, or nearby the grave of Charles McPherson. Thank you. R.
Needless to say, reading that fucked me up pretty bad. It sounded like he had been going through some serious psychological torment. The note was clearly nothing more than the ramblings of a disturbed, dying man. But I can't stop thinking about how his handwriting got messier and messier toward the end, like he was frantically writing for his life. And I can't stop thinking about that one specific line. I've seen a horror beyond comprehension in those woods. I'm not one for ghost stories, but Jesus Christ, it gave me chills. The sheriff informed me that they had conducted a full investigation. They had found nothing of interest at Ross's apartment, at his former childhood home, or anywhere in the woods near his body. He asked me if I had any ideas about what might have happened, and I told him the truth. I had none. I told him about Ross's odd and increasingly concerning behavior over the past couple of months. I told him that his grandpa-father had died, and that after that, Ross really seemed to take a turn for the worst. The sheriff thanked me for my time and went to leave. I asked him what was going to happen next with the investigation. He shrugged and said something like, it was an obvious enough suicide. Poor bastard went off the deep end. He left, and thankfully there were only a couple hours left until the restaurant closed and I could go home, so I stuck it out, and eventually, I was the last one there. I took the cash drawers back, counted them, and went to put them in the safe. But when I did, I saw that one of the side panels of the safe had come loose, probably just from regular wear and tear from cash drawers being slid around. I placed my hand on the loose piece of siding and tried to press it back into place, but it wouldn't move. I got annoyed. Thinking how I was going to have to contact a repair place in the morning, legally, our safe has to be in perfect condition with no damage. Or else it's considered a huge liability, but I felt something wedged in between the side piece and the metal wall of the safe. I reached into the gap and extracted the thing, only to find a thin, silver laptop. I was super confused, and for a minute, I didn't really process what I was holding, and then I recognized the small dent in the upper right corner of the computer's lid. This was Ross's laptop. I'm sure you can imagine the amount of conflict I went through in that moment. The right thing to do would be to take it to the sheriff's office. This could be a huge missing piece of figuring out what happened to Ross. But on the other hand, I can't help but feel like he'd left it here for a reason. If he had carried it with him and left it nearby, or even in his apartment when he killed himself, that would have been one thing, but leaving it at work, in a place where he knew only I would be able to find it, and even if I didn't, would have kept it under lock and key. I wish I was joking, but I sat in the office for like 25 minutes trying to figure out what to do. Ultimately, I decided to take it home with me. Ross left it there for a reason, I'm sure of it. We weren't best friends by any means. But I know enough about him that I'm pretty sure this was no accident. My plan is to look through the laptop if I can even get it unlocked. If I find anything, I'll let you all know. Something is really bothering me about the whole situation. Ruling Ross's death as a suicide makes logical sense. It's hard to argue with that. But finding his laptop? I know I shouldn't be doing this. It's a crime to withhold evidence, right? Posting this on Reddit is definitely going to backfire in some way, but I feel like this is really important. I'll keep you all updated.